And welcome to another edition of the Bat Around. I'm your host, Paul Valley from Pigtown Sports. He is Zach Moore. It is Sunday evening, May 18th, 2025, the year of our Lord and Savior, whatever that means to you or to me or to anybody else. Today's show is brought to you by Classic 5 Golf. Do you want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? Then the Baltimore Academy has fun instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. So enroll today at BaltimoreGolfAcademy.com. I played at Ruggles yesterday, shot an 86. Wasn't too displeased with myself on that one. 5 pars on the front 9, 1 par on the back 9, but I held it together enough to keep my score under 90. Usually, no matter what I score on the front, I've shot a 38 on the front 9 and a 52 on the back to get back to 90. I've done 42, 48, 41, 49, but I did 41, 45 yesterday. It was at Ruggles, which is not a difficult course. It's pretty wide open. I lost 1 ball the entire day, and it was on like the 15th hole. But yeah, it's all that Classic 5 golf tutelage right there for you. So, well, nice. welcome in to the Bat Around. And like, look, you'd think I'd be happy. You'd think I'd be happy because the thing I've been asking for, screaming from a mountaintop that needed to happen since August of 2022, finally happened. Brandon Hyde has been relieved of his duties as Orioles manager. And Zach, we're going to give our reactions here to this. Tony Mansolino, Orioles third base coach, maybe the next biggest dumb A on the roster as far as the coaches are concerned, fills in as the interim manager. Now, look, I understand it. We may have been clamoring for Robinson Chirinos and Buck Britton to be the next guy, but they don't have any big league managing or coaching experience for that matter. Mansolino has managed at 3 or 4 different levels in the minor leagues. He's been a big league coach, whether it's a bench coach or a third base coach. He's had an opportunity to coach at the minor league and big league level, has the most experience. So it makes sense that Mansolino gets the position as interim manager. And I say interim because that's his title. And I can't imagine he holds this position beyond this year. Your reaction to Brandon Hyde being fired and his replacement being Tony Mansolino?
I think my first reaction is it's got to be a good thing because would this show have happened if Brandon didn't get fired this week? Because I know you said you were out, so we had to make sure. Man.
The show would have happened.
Good.
Like, look, I did. So luckily, I said this on Thursday. I was at the game. They lost 4-0. They looked dead in the water. Anytime they got somebody on base, they couldn't get the guy over or in. Seemed like 3 guys only wanted to be there, and one of them was definitely not Tyler O'Neill, who's surprise, back on the IL again. God, what a waste. And the next day and the day after, I worked in the restaurant during both games, and so I didn't really have to sit there and watch it. I did watch Cedric Mullins take 98 down the middle and then 96 down the middle to end the game. Well, not end the game, but with a runner on first base down by a run, he watches on 3-1 and 3-2, 2 center cut fastballs. While Jackson Holliday gets thrown out stealing, Orioles lose that game 4-3. Brandon Hyde comes out. His reaction, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of in disbelief. Tell me that's not a guy just waiting to get fired.
Yeah, I think they knew it was happening. I think my biggest reaction, and I've said it a little bit on my channel, you never want to see anyone lose their job in life. And I understand these guys make a lot of money, but he's got a family, like they're used to a paycheck, and to get that ripped out in this economy, like I feel bad for anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a professional player or not. Like I don't want to see anybody lose their job. But this team, we talked about it plenty of times. This team is lifeless. Something needed to change. I honestly thought we would probably see a coordinator, not a coordinator, but like a pitching coach or a hitting coach get fired first. Just kind of start low on the pecking order. Brandon, there's plenty of points that you can make that he needed to go, and I'm not going to sit here and say that any one of those points were probably wrong. And there's probably some points where you could make that maybe he wasn't the reason, which I'm not going to sit there and argue that you were probably wrong. When a manager gets fired, it's desperation. Mm-hmm. What I'm excited about, and then some things I even question myself today are, why did Drew French and Cody Ashley and companies stay? Like, What did they prove that they were doing better than Brandon Hyde? And I got to thinking about it. I was at the game today for Little League Day. They were not Brandon Hyde appointed coaches. They were Mike Elias appointed coaches. Brandon Hyde never got to pick these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he was given Chirinos and Buck Britton and Cody Ashley and Tommy Joseph. He didn't call Tommy Joseph and say, "Hey, I need you." You know, he didn't call Drew French and say 2 years ago. We were just talking about this prior to the show. He had Chris Holt, and Chris Holt was doing really good things for this organization, Darren Holmes. And then all of a sudden we get this guy, this young analytical guru from the Braves, who at the time, you know, they were doing really well. And then that was appointed by Mike Elias. So this was Mike being desperate for his job, firing Brandon, but yet still leaving the guys that he appointed. And I don't know if that's the right move. I really don't. Like, you and I were just talking about this, and I've made some shorts about it. In 2023, like in 2022, we acquired Cano, who had an 11 ERA. What did Chris Holt do? Turn this into some changeup throwing fool who nobody could hit. Felix Bautista couldn't get out of high A. What did Darren Holmes and Chris A turn into, or Chris Holt? One of the best relievers in all of baseball. Then you got Danny Coulomb, who was kind of, kicking the tires around a little bit. Cino Perez kicking the tires around a little bit. They came out and threw to sub-2 ERAs back under Chris Holt and Darren Holmes. What has Drew French proved? Who has he developed? Who has he fixed? Absolutely no one at all. Mm-hmm. Injuries are piling up, way more than we had under Darren Holmes and Chris Holt. So I kind of question, like, are those the guys that you want to lead right now with an interim manager? And I'm going to say hell no, because, and I asked this question too myself, is what if we acquired Trevor Rogers with Chris Holt and Darren Holmes? Would that trade be as bad?
It looks pretty awful right now. Another 5 earned runs given up by Rogers in 4 innings at AAA.
Right. So like it's almost like Mike was okay dumpster diving and taking on these projects because those two guys, more times than not, were producing a quality arm for the organization. And I feel like he's still trying to do that same thing. Remember, who the hell was that guy last year they claimed who threw like 100 and some miles an hour and he couldn't even get out of the inning? He walked like 6 guys.
Oh, yeah. I think his last
name
was his last name Rodriguez or
no, it wasn't Rodriguez.
Oh my god!
I don't even think he's in the major leagues anymore. But
it was like he was god awful. He was awful.
Right. That was a guy that he looked at because he was used to Chris Holt and Darren Holmes doing this and thinking Drew French could fix that. Drew French hasn't done anyone at all. Who's all gotten worse? Cano, Perez. You lost Danny, and then you've got Bautista got hurt, and then Kyle Gibson, Morton, and everybody and their mother got hurt or got worse. Grayson got hurt, and got worse. Like, what is Drew French doing? Hold on. Yes.
What does it all say?
I'm in the middle. You want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, here. Say
Hi.
hi. We'll step over a little closer.
Hey.
Hi.
Say, I'm supposed to
How
be
we
in
doing?
bed.
I'm supposed to be in bed.
Nah, but you're a cutie patootie.
Give me a hug and go back.
That's cool.
Say?
Go ask mommy.
I already asked her.
All right, go ahead.
What does it?
So let's see. I'm trying to see who this guy was. I can't. None of it. Was it Johan Ramirez? Was it? No, it wasn't Thiago Vieira. I don't even think that he was an actual pitcher. Man, Matt Crook. I remember him. He was god awful. So was Jonathan Heasley. I think that the guy that we're talking about was Johan Ramirez, who could come in and he could throw 1,000,000 miles an hour.
He was another guy, but it was another one too that they had for like a day.
I'm looking, and it's. I think you are mistaken. I think it was Johan Ramirez.
No, because I remember him. I actually wanted to keep him. I actually really liked him because he went to the Dodgers afterwards.
I'm not seeing anybody else on their roster from last year. That
2024 transactions. It was
because there's nobody on their roster that threw a pitch that's not accounted for. And I remember this guy. I'm pretty sure it was Johan Ramirez. Pretty sure of it because
was it before June? Thiago Vieira. There you go.
Was it no? Because that guy doesn't have it. He didn't have an ERA.
Remember, we traded from the Brewers.
Oh, he didn't have an ERA because he didn't get an out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he gave up 1 hit, 3 earned runs, 4 walks.
Yeah.
He didn't get an out. And a wild pitch. That's him. It was Thiago Vieira. That's who it was.
Do you know who he traded him for?
No.
Garrett Stallings. Do you want to guess what Garrett Stallings' ERA is this year?
Well, where did he go? I know that he was with the Mets for a little bit, wasn't he?
He's in AAA with the Brewers.
What's he doing there? Probably better than Trevor Rogers.
1.04 ERA.
Relief or starter?
Relief. But when we traded him, he had a 5 ERA when we traded him.
Yeah, he wasn't very good for the Orioles. He wasn't very good for the
But
Orioles.
again, so right back to my point, right? Another guy that we traded away, and then all of a sudden he just gets better. Like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's been a brutal couple of months, and we're only in the middle of May, which is like, and they're 15-30. The last time they were 15-30 was 2019 when they lost 108 games. They lost 108 games that year. This team is way better than that team.
I agree.
Oh my gosh. Now, Tony Mansolino, he replaces Brandon Hyde. That when he was asked about making the transition, this is the quote that he gave. I just read this before the show, and I do not like it. I do not like it. When asked about him making the transition, he said, "It's hard to do that. I don't think that's going to come anytime soon about being comfortable. I think right now it's just try to get up to speed, try to connect with everybody. This is very different from what I was doing. I had a nice little silo that I worked in, and it was comfortable. This is about as uncomfortable as it gets right now. So just trying to communicate with everybody and connect the dots." That doesn't scream confidence to anybody. Like, whatever happened to fake it till you make it? Act like you've been there before. And I said this yesterday, and like you said, you don't want to see anybody lose their job. When Brandon Hyde got fired, all these people text me, all these people messaged me on Twitter, and it was like, "Oh, Brandon Hyde got fired." Like, they were so excited. I wasn't excited. Yeah. I wasn't excited. Like, I knew it needed to happen, and I know I've been calling for it since 2022, but something terrible had to happen for him to get fired.
Right.
And what terrible had to happen was the Orioles being 15-29 through 44 games. So my team had to be awful for Brandon Hyde to get fired. That's number one. Number two, again, I'm a human being, and I'm like, despite what people may think, I'm like a pretty nice guy. Like, I don't like to see people fall on hard times. I don't like, and yeah, he'll be fine. He was making like $4 million a year. He'll be fine, but I don't like to see it. You know, like, I'm glad that they finally made a move and I don't have to keep watching Brandon Hyde, because I don't think he's a great in-game manager. It doesn't mean I don't feel for the guy. And everything I've ever heard about him is that he's a great guy. Total fun guy to be around, just a great overall guy, just not a great baseball manager. It's just like I had no personal problem with Ryan McKenna or Adam Frazier or Rougned Odor or Jorge Mateo. They're just not good baseball players anymore.
Right.
You know, and so like, they need to be gone. Brandon Hyde wasn't a good manager. He needed to be gone. Doesn't mean that I don't feel for him. Now, also, the other part of me not being excited about it is that I don't think that Tony Mansolino is necessarily a great baseball guy. He makes some terrible sends at third base. I don't know. And I look at him as another yes guy for Mike Elias, as somebody who they think is going to run the team they want the way that they want him to run the team. And I don't know that Buck Britton's that guy. I don't know that Robinson Chirinos is that guy. I don't know whoever that they bring in. I hope he's not that guy, but you never know. Let me ask you this. Do you have any confidence that they're going to bring in a guy to manage this ball club that we're going to like?
Not under Mike.
Yeah.
God, I hate to even admit that, man, because like I was a Mike guy.
I was a huge Mike guy. He checked every box he said he would, like in chronological order from his introductory preference, and he did it fast, right?
Right.
But the 3 trade deadlines that he's had, the 3 off seasons that he's had, have been awful. They've been absolutely awful. He's
living and dying by the computer, and it doesn't work.
No. No, you have to have a feel for the game. You've got to you've got to consider that human element. Computers, analytics, they do not consider the human element. That's why
Right.
teams like that 101 win 2023 Baltimore Orioles ball club. Should that team have won 101 games with the talent
No,
that
they had what,
had?
20? It was like 20 some come from behind victories or something.
Yeah, they should not have won 101 games, but they won 101 games because the analytics and the Pythagorean theorem and all this crap that we see, they don't account for team culture, camaraderie, the human element of baseball, that belief, that confidence. How many times you played baseball your entire life coming up until you got hurt, right? How many times would you get into a slump and you knew you were so much better than what you were doing? And you'd go 1 for 23 with 12 strikeouts, and you're like, what the hell is wrong with me? Then you get a couple of hits, a Texas League or a bleeder, a bloop. And then the next thing you know, you get 8 hits in your next 12 at bats, and you feel like you can't miss because in your mind, you believe that you can't miss. Self-doubt and self-confidence are very real things that impact the game. It's all played up here. You have to have skill, talent, and ability. But if you're not right up here, you're not going to succeed. And there's nothing in a computer that can possibly account for that. And people don't talk about that. That's why I hate the analytic approach when it comes to managing a baseball team, because you are not accounting for your guys and what they're thinking in their minds. You're accounting for what that computer screen told you before the game, and I think it's bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, I fully agree. And I mean, you know me, I'm a numbers guy. I love looking at numbers, and it tells such a story of the game, but it doesn't tell you the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I solely blame Mike Elias and his trade deadlines and how he's attacked free agency on the computer, because they'll sit here and they'll run these numbers and they try to project what they're going to do in year X, Y, and Z. And they're like, we might see a decline in year Z. Who gives a shit? Excuse my French. Like, Nelson Cruz was supposed to be dead and gone, and all of a sudden resurged with Texas. And then, like, those kind of stories happen. Look at, I'm going to name it, I probably shouldn't, but look at Jurickson Profar. The guy tried for so many freaking years to get it together, and all of a sudden he goes to San Diego, gets the right coach, and figures it all out. Gets himself a nice contract. Yes, he gets popped for the juice or whatever he gets popped for. But this was a guy that was a former top prospect that everybody thought the world of, and he just stunk, and then he just figured it out. Chris Davis, another guy, wasn't the greatest guy in the world in Texas, came here and figured it out. Ryan O'Hearn, stunk in Kansas City, and he'll be the first one to admit it to you. Our best hitter now, these kind of things happen, and the computer can't predict that.
Right.
No computer is going to predict Ryan O'Hearn going to Baltimore in a trade and figuring it out. None. None whatsoever. The only reason he was even signed is because he was left-handed. And Mike was on a kick. And that was it.
He was signed, released before he finally stuck. And it took him having a big spring training in 2023 for them to be like, or was it 23? Yeah, in 2023 for them to be like, maybe this guy has something. And he still started in the minors, but he got that call. He sees the opportunity, and he hung on to it like grim death. And here he is, hitting over 300, one of our team leaders in home runs and RBIs right now. You cannot predict the human element. You just you can't do it. Not with a computer screen. You and I might be able to, but you can't do it with a computer screen. Something's got to happen for this team to turn it around. It would have been nice if it was yesterday. They're down 7-2 in the 8th. Then it's 10-2, and then they score 4 runs in the 9th inning, and you're like, oh man, what if a comeback win like that? Going down 8-0 today, and then coming back to win that game 9-8. Something like that is what's got to happen. But I don't know that it's coming. You disagree with me. We're going to get to that in a minute here. Just want to remind everybody that today's show is brought to you by Help My Gambling Problem. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. That's 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. And let's get into this a little bit, okay? The Orioles, 15 and 30, they've been god awful. Can they turn this around? Gunnar Henderson said post game today, this sucks. Losing sucks. I'm paraphrasing here. But all we need is one good month. All we need is one good month to get it turned around. They could get Kowser back next month. They could get Westberg back next month. Kittredge will probably be back in the next week or two. Do you get Bradish and Wells and Grayson Rodriguez back? Who knows? But if you get Westberg and Kowser back, maybe O'Neill comes back and starts hitting. You told me prior to the show something that I found very what's the word I'm looking for here? Very
surprising, shocking, stupid.
Shocking, surprising, interesting. I won't go as far as to say stupid.
It's stupid.
It was shocking, surprising, and interesting. What did you tell me before the show today?
I've refused to give up, but I feel like this team could still make the playoffs. I've refused to give up that hope because I know deep down this roster is full of talented players. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the current guys in charge right now are going to get it out of them. But if a move is made soon, I could see it happening. And I say that, and you and I talked about Drew French. I think he's got to go. I think Cody Ashley maybe is okay. I don't know. Ditch the whole computer shit. Get back to playing baseball. Go back to the fundamentals. Right now, Kerstad, horrible in the outfield. I'm sorry. Get back to the Buck Showalter days where you got your ass chewed out if you made a defensive blunder, right? Those bad teams never made a mistake. Even when Brandon Hyde took over and those 100 loss teams, there wasn't a whole lot of defensive mistakes all the time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Get back to that because defense helps you win games. And I don't know. I refuse to give up, and I refuse to throw the towel in that this is a horrible team. Even though they're playing horrible right now, it does take one good month. Get yourself in a stone's throw right before the trade deadline, 6-7 games back, and try to acquire somebody and make a run because you are getting a good bout of guys. It just comes down to, can you toss out the computer shit? And if you can, I think this team still has it in them. And I would love to see it.
This was supposed to be that month, though.
It was.
This was they're what, 3-11 in May?
Something like that. They're terrible.
This was supposed to be that month. We were thinking 16-11 is what we would
the lowest.
Find acceptable. We would find 16-11 acceptable. Yeah, they're 3-11 because they were 10-17 entering the month of May, and we said if they go 16-11, that puts them, 2 games under 500, heading into June, and they're in a better spot. And since then, they're 8 games under 500. So now they're 3-11 in the month of May. This was supposed to be the month. You played the Nationals, you play the Twins. Now look, the Twins have won like 1 billion games in a row. Did they finally lose today?
They won 1 billion games in a row because they played the Orioles 7 times. Mm-hmm. Does that really count? They won 10 games in a row. They played the Orioles 7.
Yeah. So it's but this. Look, you have the confidence, and I've convinced myself. I watched it from my adolescence into adulthood. I'm talking from the age of 13 until the age of 2012 until the age of 28. From 13 to 28, I watched this team post 14 consecutive losing seasons. I convinced myself teams like the 2002 Baltimore Orioles, the 2003 Baltimore Orioles could play 500 or better baseball. Don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I convinced myself every year. In 2018, when they were 47 and 115, it wasn't until July that I convinced myself that they weren't any good. Even through June, I said, look, they could win 17 of 23 and put themselves right back in good position. And that's how my mind works when it comes to this team. I know a lot of people think that I'm negative when I talk about the team, and it's because I saw stuff like, not necessarily this record, but I saw bad baseball coming from the things I saw on the peripherals from this team starting in the middle of last year. But I'm usually pretty optimistic internally. Nah, man, I don't even know that they can get back to 500. I look at a team that it still seems unfathomable to me that this team could lose 100 games. I don't think they're going to lose 100 games. I have to believe that they'll play some good brand of baseball potentially in the second half, but I would be shocked if this team wins 70 games.
Yeah.
If this team wins 70 games, I would be shocked.
I could see it. I refuse to give up that hope.
Yeah. Well,
I'll tell you what I'm at least excited to see it is, yeah, they got down really early the last two games, and I understand like hitting the ball late in the game when it doesn't really matter and they're trying to get the game over with. Those don't mean much, but they mean a little bit to me because we didn't see it under Brandon Hyde. Like when they were done, they were done. Like those innings went quick, and the other team was just trying to get out of there. We didn't score a run, maybe one run, maybe two runs, but for them to score, what have they scored? 9 or 10 runs after the 6th inning in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
I'll take a small positive from that because at least you're not rolling over and dying after giving up 7 in the first 2 innings back-to-back days. Like, I'm pleased with that. I'll start there. At least Tony hasn't allowed them to just roll over and die his first 2 days because let's be honest, it has not started any way good for him whatsoever. And then they seem like, and I see Melanie tweet something today that, guys were in the dugout kind of chirping a little bit, like, let's go, chip away, like, keep your head up, take good at bats. Like, I never seen Melanie tweet that before. Like, is that something new? Like that? We've all been asking for that for I don't know how many months. And, and you're starting to score a little bit. You hear Zach Eflin talk about Tony's energy, like he brings leadership. Like, are they just saying the right things because they were just saying the right things for Brandon too? I don't know, but at least we've seen some type of positive today. Whether it's probably a 10% positive, but right now I'm going to hang my hat on anything I can.
Yeah, like you see. By the way, that double play that ended the game today, did you see that? Were you still there for that?
No, I took the kids home. They had a bunch of cotton candy and were losing their minds.
Dude, the double play that the Nationals turned to end the game today. Ground ball up the middle, a shortstop. Is it Garcia? Is there a shortstop?
C.J. Abrams, I think.
C.J. Abrams.
He's their starter. I don't know if he was still in the game or not.
So he fields the ground ball up the middle. Underhand flips it with his glove to the second baseman who's running through the bag towards left field, right? Catches the ball, steps on the bag, jumps, spins, and throws in one motion and gets Mountcastle by half a step to end the game.
It was slow. It was so slow,
which is crazy because once he gets going, he's actually got a solid sprint speed. But he it was a jump, spin, throw all in one motion to get Mountcastle. The play was a thing of beauty. It happened to happen against the Orioles, but it was right after I think Jackson Holliday had gotten hit by a pitch, so he reached base 3 times again today. I don't know what the point was of telling you that, but it did seem today and yesterday that they didn't stop trying. It didn't seem like they were lifeless at the end of the game. You watched as, Cedric hits the home run, then Gunnar hits the home run, then Holliday hits an Oppo Taco over 400 feet. Yesterday they got the 3-run homer from Holliday in the 9th inning, who is becoming their best player, by the way. Yeah. He's becoming their best player.
I will tell you that the cheers for Holliday were louder than Gunnar today.
Well,
I think fans are starting to realize it.
Yeah, like Jackson Holliday, like that's what a 1-1 looks like.
Yeah.
That's what a 1-1 looks like. But this team, the whole point is that the team hasn't looked dead in the water the last 2 games, even though they should have looked it. They should have been. They were down.
It didn't turn in 24-2.
Right. It was 7-2 yesterday. It was 8-0 today, and yeah, the games weren't close, but they didn't give up. They didn't stop fighting. And yesterday you don't give up 3 runs in the 9th inning. That's a 7-6 ball game. Maybe it turns out differently. Yeah. Today, you don't give up 3 runs there towards the end or 2 runs there in the 8th inning or 9th inning. You don't give up those runs, and maybe things are a little bit more chippy there. But this team has better baseball ahead of them because how can they not? They're 15 games under 500 in the middle of May. They've got to have better baseball in front of them. And there's been plenty of teams in the past. I don't know how many teams. I don't know if this is something you know how to look up, but how many teams have been significantly under 500 and came back and made a run of things? Not even necessarily made the playoffs. I know that the Mariners were 10 games out entering like September, and they in '95, and they came back and made it all the way to the AL Championship Series. but this team has better baseball in front of it, especially when they get some healthy guys back. So I want to know, what are we feeling good about right now? What do we expect to happen at the trade deadline? What can this team do to turn things around before it gets weird to say before it gets completely out of hand, because it already feels completely out of hand. But what can this team do to turn things around?
Just take good at bats. That's the biggest thing is get away from the, drop and drive, worry about hitting a home run kind of thing. Just take good at bats. Ditch the whole home runs mean more than base hits attitude that I'm pretty sure they're following. The analytics will tell you, and it's not just the Orioles, but the analytics around baseball will tell you that you have a higher percentage of hitting a solo home run than you do of stringing together 3+ base hits in a row to score a run.
Mm-hmm.
What the computer doesn't realize is you also can hit a double and then hit another double and score a run. Those chances are a lot freaking higher than a home run. That's what I get irritated about this crap. The computer is not always the smartest thing on earth.
Right.
Ditch the computer and get back to hitting the ball. Look, they hit the ball right now hard up the middle, and that's what you want to do in life. It's not working with this team because
they play them up the middle.
Right. They play you up the middle, and it's also on the ground. And I've told people you can hit a ball 117 miles an hour all day long, but if you hit it on the ground in the major leagues, they're going to make that play 98 out of 100 times. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how hard you hit it in the major leagues. They're likely going to catch it. So you got it. Don't worry about launch angle, trying to hit it over the fence. Just get it off the ground somehow. And could it be that they're swinging up so much that they're hitting the top half of the ball and driving it into the ground? It could be. So again, just if you ditch the computer stuff, let's fix the base running errors. You're running out of outs all the time, or you're running into outs. Fix the little mental mistakes on defense. Throw to the right bag. Don't be afraid to crash into the wall. Talk a little bit out there. Let a guy know where he's at. It's the simple stuff. Back up first base. Holiday move over a little bit. Have Heston kind of crash down the right field line. Get back to fundamental high school baseball. I know it sounds stupid to tell a professional that, but sometimes it's the little things that help you win baseball games. Find a way to win a close game, right? Get that confidence back. Build off that. Ask every single player on that team, what did you do today that you've been working on that you succeeded with, and build off that. And then so I'll do something with the pitching. I can't even go into the pitching stuff. Get rid of Drew French and start there, and I think everything will fix itself.
And I'm telling you, the bullpen for me, everybody was talking about how strong this bullpen is, how strong, and I tried to get on board, and in my mind, I couldn't.
I think you and I knew they weren't going to be that good.
Yeah,
they needed to do more.
Like they and you said this. What if Felix isn't Felix, right? You don't have a contingency, right? And Kittredge gets hurt. Gregory Soto looks exactly like what we thought Gregory Soto was going to look like. Sir Anthony Dominguez looks exactly like what we thought Sir Anthony Dominguez was going to look like. Sometimes they look really good, but more often than not, they don't look so good. Right. And then you got rid of Danny Coulombe, who has he let up a run yet this year?
He just hit the IL today for I don't even know what the hell this is, but an extensor muscle in his forearm. I couldn't even tell you what the hell this is.
It's probably connected to the elbow, and it may have been something that the Orioles medical team saw.
I have heard that Danny had for the last 2 seasons, had a lot of elbow injuries or issues, I should say, not injuries. What they did last year was went in and tried to clean it all up. And when he came back and didn't let up a run, but he had 85% hard hit rate against him last year. And I think that scared him a little bit, and they let him go. And I'm not going to say Mike won this idea because he did get hurt, but I will say that it sucks for Danny because Danny was having such a good year, and he was likely heading back to the All-Star game. So it really sucks for Danny. And I hope, and I kind of looked it up a little bit. It's between a 2 and 6 week recovery, just depending on how severe it is. I'm hoping for Danny's sake, it's a 1 to 2 week thing, and he's back pretty quick. But if it's a 6 week thing, like, can we blame Mike at that point? Because
and then you look at Jeff Hoffman. He has been off. Well, okay, so he in a third of an inning,
he went through a stretch.
He had a blown save in a third of an inning back on May 7th. He gave 3 hits, 3 earned runs. Then he had 1 inning pitch. He got a save, 3 strikeouts. no hits, no walks. Then the next game, 1 inning pitch, 3 strikeouts. He had a save. Then another blown save, inning in a third of an inning, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, and a home run with a walk and a strikeout. And then an inning pitched yesterday,
yeah,
where he walked a guy but didn't give up a hit. So he had 2 really bad outings and 3 pretty solid outings. But his ERA is 5.75. Danny Coulomb.
Well, it was that grand slam that he gave up 5 runs to Tampa on the 13th. So he had those back-to-back days. On the 6th and 7th, he was terrible. And then the 9th and 10th, he was good. Gave up the walk-off grand slam to Churio. And then it looks like he shut the door against Detroit yesterday. I'm not going to say his shoulder is bad. Did you see the grand slam he gave at the Churio? Was it Churio? Not Churio. Who's the Tampa Bay guy that's really good, the young guy?
I don't know.
I forget his name. He's the third baseman. Anyway, this ball was probably that far inside. It was a hanging curveball, but it was above the belt. That far inside, dude, he turned to burn.
Yeah.
He turned to burn.
I mean, but then you look at Jacob Webb. Jacob Webb has a negative WAR this year. He's 2-2 with a 4.22 ERA.
I never liked him. I never liked him.
Well, and the thing is, so they got him. They claimed him off waivers after the Angels DFA'd him towards the end of August in 2023. He had 3.99 ERA. And I'm sorry, it was towards the end of July. And he pitched really well in August for the Orioles.
Yeah.
And in September, he was god-awful, and he was even worse in the playoffs. Then last year, he pitches to a 3.02 ERA for the Orioles, right? And then
the playoffs.
Yeah, and then he didn't pitch. I don't think he pitched poorly did he even pitch in the playoffs?
I don't remember. I just remembered anytime it was a big game, he'd let up runs.
So last year, he threw 1 game, 2/3 of an inning, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk, no runs. But in 2023, he allowed. In 2023, he gave
it the grand slam.
The grand slam after Brian Baker walked the bases loaded.
Yep.
Yeah. So
we knew, everybody in the whole stadium, I think, knew that was coming with him coming in the game.
For sure. But no, his playoff career. Oh man, his playoff earned run average is 11.05 in 8 games. So in 2020, he threw 3 games, 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs. 2021, an inning and 2/3 with the Braves, 4 hits, 4 earned runs. 2023, 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. Both hits were home runs. And then last year was the first playoff game he ever played in, where playoff appearance that he didn't give up any runs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like Jacob Webb not pitching that great. Danny Coulomb hurt. Jeff Hoffman doesn't look great. And so I don't want to say that Mike Elias was right because.
But do you remember when they were good? Chris Holt was here.
Yeah.
Gets back to that.
It's for me, but the fact that when they got rid of Chris Holt prior to last season, I was like, why? You
know what really I love Chris Holt when he was here, but he is with Boston right now, and they are one of the worst bullpens in all of baseball. So like,
but he's a bullpen coach. What does the bullpen coach even do? Just tell these guys to get up or sit back down? Like, I don't know what the bullpen coach does.
I mean, they might see if all of a sudden you can't locate a cutter or a slider in the bullpen, they might see some little mechanical thing. Hey, do this real quick before you head in the game, but. They don't have time to do a whole lot, but it's more before the game. So like when Tyler Wells and Grayson are throwing their bullpens, like they're there with the trainers and the pitching coach, and they're a pitching coach, but they're seeing things in the bullpen that they can try to help with a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, and I don't know. It just everything that could go wrong. This team has suffered Murphy's Law since the middle of June last year. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for this ball club. You look at it last night, they're winning 3-2. Then the game gets tied up, and they give up the game-winning run on an infield single because Bautista got to the bag late and then decided he took too long to throw the ball home, and he threw it over Adley's head.
Yeah.
And then they get the leadoff runner on, and Jackson Holly gets a base hit up the middle, his 3rd hit of the game. He goes to steal second on a 3-2 count to Seti, who takes a fastball literally right down the chute. And I had to make sure I didn't say
Twice.
right down the C. But literally back-to-back fastballs right down the middle. He doesn't even try to swing at. Strike him out, throw him out, double play, the game's over. Like the way they lost that game was so god awful and so just unlucky.
It was the
And
dagger.
yeah, and it was a straw that broke the camel's back. It was
Yep.
it was just absolutely atrocious to watch them lose that game that way last Friday night. It was awful. Everything that could go wrong for this team has gone wrong. So I do want to ask about something else, but do want to remind everybody today's show is brought to you by Glenn Clark Radio. If you missed anything from Glenn Clark Radio this week, including conversations with Danny Coulombe, Mike Tirico, New Ravens, Enos Peebles, and Joe Noteboom, and much more. You can find them all now in the Glenn Clark Radio Week in review feature at PressBoxOnline.com. And as always, watch or listen to GCR every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. at PressBoxOnline.com/radio or right here on Facebook and YouTube. We're talking about this. All the injuries, everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. Zach Eflin blasted today, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. ERA jumps from 3.13 to 5.08. The rotation the last time through, Dean Kramer, 5 2/3, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs. McDermott, 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks, 1 home run, sent back down. Sagano, their best pitcher by far and away, 6 1/3, gives up 2 home runs back-to-back, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. Povich, dominant, 5 2/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 9 Ks, 1 home run allowed. Kyle Gibson, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, 1 K. DFA'd prior to today's game, and then Eflin's start to be just alluded to a few seconds ago. Team's 15 and 30. The pitching's been atrocious. The bullpen is getting overused, and they're getting worse every day. In my opinion, the season's over. What do you do with Grayson, Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells, Suarez? If he's able to pitch at some point this year, he's going to pitch. Do they
saw him today, by the way?
Oh, you did?
He looked in good spirits.
Well, he always looks in good spirits. He's probably just happy to be in the big leagues after spending 7 years away from it.
This is very true.
I think what's the point? Why would you bring Grayson back? Why would you bring Bradish back? Why would you bring Wells back? And I'm not saying just keep them on the shelf all year, but because they do have to pitch, right? Yeah. These guys have to pitch. They've got so that you can go into the offseason knowing, okay, they're throwing pitches in anger. We've got to, get them ready for a full, healthy offseason and then hit the ground running with them in spring training next year. I do see the merit and the point in that. Why not just have them, go and throw some simulated games in Sarasota at the complex, get in some minor league rehab games, August, September, but don't bring them up to the big league level. And they're going to, and I believe that they feel that they have to, and I'm sure that they do. But does it need to?
I don't think they're going to rush him back.
Right?
Yeah, I think they give him. If they're out of it, we won't see them till September, regardless.
Right.
They'll probably each get their 2 starts. If they're in it somehow, right? They find their groove and they get to within 7-8 games back or something like out of the wild card, and it's still early July. I think we're going to see them a little early. They're gonna try for it, and you should try for it. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not against it whatsoever if they're just out of it.
Yeah,
just hold them off as long as you can, kind of thing.
If you get through June and you're still double-digit games under 500, now here's the other thing: what happens if you get to the end of June and you've cut this from 15 games under 500 to 8 games under 500?
You bring them back. You take a shot. You be aggressive at the trade deadline. You bring something in that can help you, and you're getting your horses back. You're getting Cowser back, and Westberg should hopefully be back. God forbid Tyler O'Neill stays on the goddamn field. Your core that you built this team around is back. You got to make a run for it.
Yeah, and that's why I think that the team will play better. I think the hole that they've dug is probably a little too deep, right? Not a lot too deep. But you're going to get Westberg back. You're going to get Cowser back. And what that means just for the clubhouse alone. You saw what happened when Westberg went down for 7 weeks last year. What happened to this ball club? Jackson hits that grand slam in his first game back against the Blue Jays. Grayson gives you 6 solid innings. The team looks great. And then 7th, 8th inning, Westberg takes one off the hand. He's out for 7 weeks. And they talked about how down the clubhouse was, despite the fact that they just took 3 or 4 from the Blue Jays at home, right? And you're like, the team was completely demoralized. You get Jordan Westbrook back. You get Colton Cowser back. You get Bradish. You get Grayson. You get Wells back. And now, and I don't even think that you put Wells in the rotation. He's got to go to the bullpen. Now you've got Wells.
I think he's a big bullpen arm.
And you've got Wells and Kittredge that are coming in, and Cano now, like, they're coming into the game in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings with Felix Bautista instead of Soto and Dominguez every time you have a lead. I look at that bullpen, it looks a lot stronger. The better baseball's coming. They've got to get to that point. For me, the hole feels too big. However, you have to feel better about 2026, right? I feel like 2026, you've got to feel good about it, knowing that you're going to have a healthy Bradish, hopefully a healthy Grayson Rodriguez. Maybe you sign Sagano to an extension. Povich, maybe he's a year better, because there are times when Povich looks damn near dominant, and other times where he can't get anybody out, right? So for me, what does the second half look like? And then can you imagine this season if the Orioles somehow do turn it around? Does this season go from being the most disappointing season we've ever seen to maybe the most exciting season we've ever seen? And see, this is what I do. This is what I do, where I convince myself in my mind, hey, this is possible. And imagine how we'll feel in July if the Orioles are back hovering around 500 and they're not out of it. And it's like, they've got to get there. What if they go?
Here's something really interesting. And I in 2018, the Red Sox were 32-37 through the first 69 games of the year. You know how many games they won?
They won like 108, didn't they?
108, and they were 32-37 through their first 69.
There's no way. Where are you seeing that? Because I thought they were just
this is AI. This is AI on Google, but
I'm
trying to check it. I'm trying to check it right now.
Because I felt like the Boston Red Sox were just a wagon that entire season. Let me check their schedule and results. If they were 32-37 through 69 games, let's see. That's not true.
No.
They were, when they had their 32nd win, they were 32-15.
Yeah. What the hell is AI saying then?
I have no idea.
Because I go to StatMuse and they were 47-22. This is AI stupid.
AI stupid. Yeah, no,
this AI is the shit that Mike Elias looks at before every damn game and makes our lineup with. The damn Google AI that's always wrong.
Jorge Mateo is 6 for 7 against this left-handed pitcher, right. And then it's like he's 6 for 70 against left-handed pitching. Oh, they left out that 0.
Yeah, I wish I could. I'm gonna take a picture of this and show it to you. Just so you know I'm not crazy. That's funny as hell. I'm gonna put it to you on Twitter.
All right. So I'm looking up here. What is the worst record at midseason in MLB history to still make the playoffs? The worst record at midseason to still make the playoffs in MLB history is last year's Detroit Tigers. They were 55-63. And they really? Sold. Yeah, and you remember they sold at the deadline. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of like, what was it, the 2016 Yankees? The 2016 Yankees were it was the 2016 Yankees. They were kind of out of it. And they got rid of some guys at the deadline. They called up Judge, they called up Sanchez. Those guys went off. They had all these young players, and they were like really far above 500 like the last 2 months of the season and made a run of the playoffs, so they didn't get there. And I think that's what got Joe Girardi fired, if I remember correctly. And then the next year, Judge came up. He had 52 home runs, and Sanchez hit 33 or something like that. But 55-63, 8 games under 500 at the All-Star break, and the Tigers still made. Can the Orioles get to 8 games under 500 by the All-Star break? Can they make that happen? I know Jordan Westbrook had a setback in his hamstring with his hamstring injury, right? Let me see this photo that you just sent me here on social media.
The good old AI overview. Thing sucks.
Let's see, the team with the worst record in mid-May to ever make the postseason is a complex query, as the definition of worst can vary. The most common way to interpret it: 2018 Boston Red Sox had a record of 32-37. No, what?
Right.
Where did you get that, man? You can't trust
That was
AI.
right off Google.
Oh, the Cougs. Were the Tigers even 55 and 63 then? I think
I don't
they
even
actually
know
were.
anymore. The only one I know
don't-
for sure was the Astros were 10 and 19 going into May last year. That's all I really remember.
Yeah,
We heard about that one plenty of times.
yeah. This
I
They
still
gotta-
think this is a good team. Deep down in the core, they are a good team. Good enough to get to where you're asking. 8 games. I think they're good enough.
Well, if they don't, what do they do at the deadline? I'll tell you, I think they trade Mountcastle and give Kobe Mayo first base the rest of the year.
Dude, he's 2 for 26 going into today. I didn't see what he did today, but
Who?
he's Kobe. He's not taking it well back at Norfolk right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he might have hit a home run today, but he was 2 for 26 heading into today's game after being sent back down.
Well, maybe they trade Mayo at the deadline along with Ryan Mountcastle. I don't know. I think they trade Cedric. I think they trade Cedric. They have plenty of guys.
I don't think they have any plans of bringing him back next year. So why not?
Yeah.
Like even if you got to 8 games around the deadline, I would still trade Cedric. And I know that would break the hearts of so many people, but that it's like the Tigers last year. They identified one guy that they could get a couple good pieces back for, and they let him go, but they still have enough guys there to make a run.
Mm-hmm. Because look, this team is going to come back pretty intact next year, with the exception of the guys that are either on like expiring contracts or it's clear that their best days are behind them, and that's Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins.
Mateo, please.
Mateo, Eflin, Morton, and
Eflin,
Morton,
I think gets a pretty fat contract this offseason.
Yeah, and that Charlie Morton is going to start for Kyle Gibson's spot. He's had back-to-back solid outings out of the bullpen. He's getting the start. And look, after I saw his post-game press conference from a couple of weeks ago, after our show last week, I don't think I'm pulling for anybody harder than I'm pulling for him, because he put it all out there. He didn't mince words. He was talking about how terrible he was and why he still believes he can do it because the velocity is there, the movement on his pitches is still there. He's like, look, if I couldn't throw the baseball anymore, I'd just say, hey, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. He's like, but that's what's so upsetting about it is that I can. I'm still have high velocity, still getting great movement on my pitches.
That curveball looked really good yesterday.
Yeah.
Really good.
And it looked really good the timeout before that, too.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason that they DFA'd. I mean, that and the 16.78 ERA that Kyle Gibson had.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the reason that they DFA'd him is because Morton's starting to look better, But I think you're going to see Mountcastle traded. I think you're going to see Cedric traded, and potentially a Morton or somebody of the sort, and they're going to try and get better. Here's my question. Adley's been terrible. You could get something for Adley. Do you trade Adley Rutschman at the deadline? Because you've got Basayo. You've got Basayo.
You got Creed. You got Ethan Anderson.
Yeah. Do you trade Adley Rutschman to a contender and get some pieces back?
Who needs him? Who needs him? Honestly, unless there's an injury right now.
Who's catching for the Red Sox?
I could see a fit there potentially. They've got a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. So who's catching for the Red Sox? Who's the catcher for
the Red Sox? Really aren't in it though.
I mean, they're more in it than the Orioles are.
Yeah, I mean they're 3 games out, but they're below 500.
Who's catching?
All right, so let's take a look. So Houston, it's that young guy. He's pretty decent. Maybe the Guardians, because they got Naylor, but I think Naylor's hitting better. So maybe
it's hard not to be hitting better than Adley right now.
Yeah. I don't really even know.
Well, the Red Sox, the AL East, only one team is above 500.
Oh, they suck.
That's terrible. That's
Yeah,
terrible.
they absolutely suck.
Who's the catcher for the Tigers?
That's what I'm looking up right this minute. Dylan Dingler and Thomas Nito.
They probably need a catcher. The Twins, the Guardians.
Nito is hitting 343 as a backup.
Yeah, but how many at bats is that? 12?
Yeah, not many. Their starters hitting 286, so they don't have a need So Dingler's hitting 286. They don't have a need for Adley. Granted, he's only got 16 RBIs, but I don't think they have
how many does
a
Adley
need.
have? 12?
I don't know.
Who's the catcher for the Mets?
The good young guy. So Bo Naylor's hitting 190 for the Guardians right now.
Yeah.
And then they have Austin Hedges. So the Guardians are potential, and they've got a plethora of pitching.
Who's the catcher for the Cubs? The Cubs are 28-19. The Cardinals are 26-21.
Cardinals are good, man.
They've
Cardinals
won
are really
eight
good.
of 10. How about for the Padres? Don't have a great catcher, do they?
They got the young guy. I think he's hitting.
See, you've said
well.
that like 4 times. Like they have the young guy. Is it the same guy catching for all these different teams?
No, I can't remember
the
their
young
names
guy?
though.
The young guy.
Francisco Alvarez
that
is the
guy.
Mets guy. Francisco
Okay.
Alvarez. He's pretty good. I think he might be hurt though. The Braves maybe. I mean,
How
they're
about
getting
the-
hot.
How about the Reds? The Reds are going to think that they're in it. They're 24 and
They're
24.
4.5 out.
They've got a better.
I
record
just
than
feel
the
like
Red
everybody
Sox.
has a young catcher right now.
Let's
They
see,
got
who
Jose
is-
Trevino, I think, is their starter, and then
he's a
Austin
bum.
Wins.
He can't even
Right.
throw. Yeah,
He's
they
hitting
need
309.
they need a catcher. Say, hey, give us Ellie De La Cruz. We'll give you
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman. No, I mean, who can you get? They're not going to give you Brady Singer.
Austin Wins hitting 385.
because he had 6 hits against the Orioles.
I know.
He's probably got 5 at bats since then,
Yep.
and he's 0 for 5. Who do they have that you'd want?
Maybe Alexis Diaz.
Maybe because
The
what I'm thinking about, because they have like you're getting Kittredge
What is he
back.
doing? Actually, he's got a 3.72 in AAA right now. In 10 games, 9.2 innings pitched, 4 earned, 1 home run, 8 walks to 14 Ks, 237 average. That could be a possibility there.
So here's my next question.
Would I trade? So let me answer that question first. I am petrified of trading anyone right now because of the minute they leave here, they're going to get good.
Yeah, well, that's because our coaching staff is god awful.
Yes,
and like
you and I
just
talked
not
about
good.
this before. It's the Lamar Jackson effect. So many
Mhm.
people rode Lamar Jackson. He's not good. He's not good. Just wait it out through Greg Roman. Wait it out. And what happens when Todd Monken came in? Lamar Jackson exploded. And I'm afraid to get rid of anybody right now under Mike Elias and this little bubble of computer analytics that they try to teach these hitters, and they go and explode elsewhere. A la Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers. Austin Hayes right now is freaking lighting it up. You know, like, I know Santander's not, but I didn't think he really would in the dome. He's not a good dome hitter, never was. But, I mean, God, could you imagine trading anyone? Mountcastle, anyone, and then they go somewhere and just rip it off.
If Ryan Mountcastle got traded and then went someplace and hit 275 with 30 home runs, I would jump off the warehouse. Like,
could you see it happening though?
I could see so many different things happening. I could also see Ryan Mountcastle going someplace else, never figuring it out and becoming a backup player. I could see him being a backup first baseman / DH who plays 3 times a week, hits 250 with 10 home runs. I could see that happening to him. There's how many guys?
I could
have
also
we
see
seen?
Christian Walker happening again too.
Yeah, but Christian Walker never proved it at the big man. Santander won it. I mean, what was Anthony Santander doing through how many games? How many at bats? 155 at bats. How many games has he played? He's played 41 games if he played today. I want to see what Santander did last year through 41 games. Because I know that he wasn't doing great. Anthony Santander.
First 40 games of 2024, he hit 220, 7 home runs, 25 RBIs, and yeah.
And
so not great. So 150 at bats.
Same thing as this season, except this season he's hit 182 with 5 home runs. But he also had an injury. I just want to see, because I know that he got stupid hot in June. He had 13 home runs in June, right?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
So let's see. At the end of May, Santander was hitting 211, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 7 home runs at the end of June. I mean, at the end of May. And then June, he went absolutely bananas. He was hitting 230, but he had 20 home runs at the end of June.
Yeah.
So I mean, he could 211 with 7 home runs at the end of May. I mean, that's very similar to what he's trending towards in Toronto this year. Man,
here's a trade that's often overlooked through Mike Elias. And I think because it was a minor league trade, nobody really paid attention to it. But Billy Cook for Patrick Riley. Yes, Patrick just had UCL surgery the other day, but Billy was hitting 279 here in Norfolk with 11 home runs. And we traded him for a quality AA arm. Mm-hmm. And he's now with the Pirates got sent back down, and he's hitting 200 through 120 at bats right now in AAA for the Pirates.
Wow.
I would say that was a win. That was a win for Mike Elias, and a lot of people kind of I just don't think they pay attention to it because it was a minor league deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that was a deal that if Patrick would have stayed healthy, Patrick would have helped this organization probably this year. The kid has some really good stuff.
I remember the Orioles kind of being lauded for that trade by the people that know when it happened last year.
Yeah.
But let me So anyway, today's show brought to you by Game Day Men's Health. If you're feeling sluggish, unfocused, or not like yourself, it could be low testosterone. At Game Day Men's Health, they specialize in testosterone replacement therapy to help men boost energy, improve mood, and regain confidence. Our treatments include testosterone cypionate. Cypionate? Okay. Our treatments, including testosterone cypionate, are safe, natural, and tailored to fit your lifestyle, and weekly injections or pellet therapy. Call Game Day Men's Health in Owings Mills at 443-264-4454 or visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com for more information. So, want to look at the AL East roundup here. Red Sox lost to Atlanta 10-4. Devers hit a grand slam, but Brian Bayo gave up 7 runs in 4 1/3 innings. The Blue Jays lost to Detroit 3-2. Jose Barrios and Jackson Jobe each gave up two runs in 6 innings, but Spencer Torkelson was too much for the Jays, driving it 2 with a double in the first and the game winner on a single in the 7th. The Rays lost to Miami 5-1. Shane Baz gave up 5 runs in 5 innings, including 2 home runs, though none by Kyle Stowers, so that's good. While Cal Quantrill allowed 1 run on just 2 hits in 5 innings for the victorious Marlins. And then Cody Bellinger with 2 runs.
Cal Cantrell?
Yeah, Cal Quantrill.
Holy crap.
Cal Quantrill. But his ERA is like 6.5 still.
I know, but it's a good start for him.
Cody Bellinger ripped a 2-run double in the first. Yankees were leading that when I wrote that as of 8-19, 2-1, but it is now 2-2 in the top of the 8th inning. Funnily enough, Juan Soto, the $700 million man or whatever the hell it was that he got crazy money, Juan Soto is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and he's hitting 247 on the year.
Mm-hmm.
But Bellinger's average is up to 253. When he was playing the Orioles, his batting average is like 180. He's up to like 253 right now. Let's see.
What do we got Holiday at now?
Holiday after
275.
Yeah. We said by June he was going to be leading off. We were wrong. By May he's leading off. You know,
dude, his last 15 games he's on a tear.
Yeah, he's been an absolute monster. He is just this week, 9 for 23, 2 doubles, 2 home runs. Let me look it up. 9 for 23, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 5 RBI this past week, just since Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Like that, Jackson Holiday
out of the leadoff.
Yeah, and that's what a 1-1 when they're starting to really turn it on. That's what they look like. That's what a 1-1 looks like. Is Jackson Holiday. Let's get to some viewer interaction here because we haven't read a lot of comments over the recent.
Yeah, I was watching. A lot of them are coming in. I don't think we were expecting that.
I mean, we get a ton every week, especially when you're on. But Wall Street Window, the interim manager said in the press conference before the game something like the way the balls are falling have been bad luck and will change. He fears that this is a sign of an Elias bean counter. I don't know what a bean counter is, but see, and that's the thing. I think that the guy with the most experience also happens to be a guy that Tim Cousins got fired, the same as Mike Elias, and not Mike Elias, is Brandon Hyde. Brandon Hyde and Tim Cousins are very, very close. And I don't know if it's a guilty by association thing with Cousins, or maybe he just doesn't buy in. I don't know. Like, you and your friend, get the hell out of here. Like I don't know what that's about, but the guy who gets the interim position, I think he's very similar to Hyde in that he's the type of manager that they want, calling the shots, so to speak, because it allows them to call the shots.
I mean, interrupt you real quick, because I had to go back and look, because I remember last time you and I complained about the leadoff position, and you said Holiday has 5 RBIs this week out of the leadoff spot. Mm-hmm. Going into May 1st, our leadoff had 4 RBIs on the season.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Holiday, he did not hit out a leadoff spot yesterday. He hit 7 yesterday.
Right. That's right. He had 3. Yeah.
Either
way, we had 4 RBIs at a leadoff position in 118 at bats.
Yeah, and he has 2 this week at a leadoff position. Steve Nicholson, what do they do here, guys? Fire sale at the trade deadline, bring up Mayo and the catcher. I can't spell his name, Basayo. The season's gone. Why not bring up Bradfield, et cetera, even Honeycutt? Honeycutt ain't ready.
Honeycutt's not ready. Bradfield, I think, is what he just moved back to, was it Aberdeen for rehab?
Yeah, he had the hamstring injury.
Yeah, he was with Florida Gulf Coast for 3 games, and I think he's in Aberdeen for 3, and he's going back to Bowie. Look, if they trade Mullins at the deadline, I think they just bring him up, and I think they let the season play out, because at that point, if you're trading Mullins, you're likely still 15, 20 games out. And at that point, I think you let this kid get his lumps now, unless you think that he's good enough to win you a Rookie of the Year next year. Then I think they kind of limit his at-bats to about 130, and they're going to play that game again, because Mike likes draft picks.
I don't see any way that Enrique Bradfield's in contention for Rookie of the Year next year. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to be helpful for the team, but I think his first big league season, he probably hits like 230.
But you steal 100 bases somehow. I
mean, you got to get on base 100 times to steal 100 bases. Like
lean into a couple of them.
Yeah. I'll bet he knows how to bunt though.
I doubt it. I doubt it with this organization.
It blows my mind. Like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking when Holiday gets on to lead off the game on Friday, or to lead off the ninth on Friday, and Mullins is up, I'm thinking, why not just bunt?
Right.
Why not just bunt, get a guy in scoring position, and hope that somehow you can get a base hit? And I know they're not good with runners in scoring position. Cedric's been one of your best hitters, but he's been struggling pretty recently, a lot recently, pretty badly. Lay one down, and maybe you can even beat one out, But like watching strikes 2 and 3 right down the chute on a strike him out, throw him out, double play. That ain't how you drew it up. Let's get the erasers out, clear the chalkboard, and try something new.
Yep.
Mike Wareco, I guess. We need to fire the strength and conditioning coach, maybe even the athletic trainer. All these injuries can't be coincidence. Guys are either out of shape or aren't training properly. Maybe guys are trying to do too much. Yeah, but there's injuries all over baseball.
There is, and I feel like all over baseball, they train these guys to be like Olympic athletes rather than baseball players, if that makes sense. Like, everybody wants to be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest, but dude, like, guys didn't get hurt back in the day because you can't pull fat. Like, people joke about that, but it's pretty freaking true. Mm-hmm. And like, look at Nick Markakis. Nick Markakis was well built, but he wasn't shredded. And the guy stayed out, other than a ball hitting him, the guy stayed healthy primarily all of his career.
Yeah, he did have the neck issue, which is why they didn't give him a 4th year, why he ultimately ended up in Atlanta. But then he was an all-star, Gold Glover in Atlanta. He played 150 games a year there. I mean, he's one of my all-time favorite Orioles. Foul ball talk, your boys. Coaching group is so young. Don't you think that's a major factor?
1,000%.
It could be. I mean, yeah.
We talked about it.
I mean, Cody Ashley's first taste of big league experience, I think, was last year as a coach. Sherman Johnson, this is his first year. Tommy Joseph, I think he was in the last 2 years, but these guys don't have a ton of experience. Let's see. I don't know. There's some going on here. You see any that kind of caught your eye here? Buck Britton was a perfect choice. Training staff and training. Let's see. Mike Wareko. Not that one. KS1. I'm terrified at the thought of Elias handling this very crucial trade deadline. Never thought I'd say that 3 years ago.
I think his job's on the line.
I think it is too. 100. I don't. I mean, it has to be.
Right.
All you have to do is look at this. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a stupid question. Do you remember a couple years ago?
There are no stupid questions, only stupid people.
I'm a stupid person. So, do you remember a couple years ago when that whole thing came out about Dan Duquette potentially going to Toronto, and it felt like people thought that he was legitimately tanking the team before leaving?
Mm-hmm. That was in 2014.
Yeah, it was a couple years ago. Yeah,
it was no, but I mean, it was right after the 2014 season.
Yeah,
that happened.
Do you think if there is any percentage that's happening right now?
No.
Like
he's not.
Like Mike Elias literally turned around and rebuilt this team so fast, and maybe he was like, "I want a contract extension or I want a raise," and they're like, "No," and he's just like, "F you guys."
I don't think so, because
not even like 2%.
Somebody posted excerpts from Moneyball. Was it Moneyball? It was a book about the Astros. What was the book about the Astros?
Oh, I don't know.
That book about the I guess maybe it was Moneyball, but it was about how the book by that writer guy who was talking about the Astros and how they got so good so quick, and there were excerpts in there about how Sig wanted to hold on to even the most middling of prospects instead of trading them, and Mike Elias was brought up studying Jeff Luhnow and how he would let guys go to, like, prospects who became stars on your team, and he would let them all go to free agency and then just let them walk. And like, they didn't want to spend money on big time free agents, that they just wouldn't do it. And I firmly believe that Mike Elias was brought up in the game that way. That he was brought up in the game to say, no, you grow the talent, you don't spend big on free agency, and you just keep churning out the prospects. And the problem is that the prospects that he has now, what those guys did, they had good managers in place. Right. You don't keep the rebuild manager. I mean, look at what happened with Rick Renteria in Chicago. He helped rebuild the Chicago White Sox, and then as soon as they got good, he was shit canned. Now, they brought in an old Tony La Russa who has no idea how to be in touch with a bunch of young black kids, but like, they still went and tried to get a better manager to come in there and get them to the promised land.
Houston did it with Bo Porter. They built a team for him and then showed him the door in 2015, and all of a sudden they made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Didn't even give him a shot.
But for me, this trade deadline is crucial because who do you hang on to? Who do you bring in? I think, but more crucial than anything is the offseason, because you've got to go out there and you've got to get bullpen pieces, and you've got to get legitimate veteran bats. I'm not talking about a guy who can hit 30 home runs. I'm talking about a guy who, when he gets into the box and you've got a runner on third base and less than 2 outs, he's scoring that guy 90% of the time. A guy who can hit a fly ball or a ground ball to the right side and can also hit 30 home runs. I'll tell you right now, you could go get JD Martinez off the street right now, put him in this Orioles lineup, and he would be their best run producer.
Probably.
He would be their best run producer. There's not a doubt in my mind. I don't know how crucial this trade deadline is, because I don't know what they're going to do, but the offseason is the most crucial part of it.
So I'm taking a look next year at free agents. You got an opt-out for Bregman. I don't think he's going to opt out. You have a player option for Pete Alonso at $24 million. He keeps hitting like he's hitting. He's opting out. Kyle Tucker's an unrestricted guy. Let's see. Shane Bieber, Chris Sale, Valdez. These guys are old. Bellinger's got an opt-out. I don't want to see opt-outs.
Aren't the Cubs putting on the full court press for Kyle Tucker, though?
Yeah, and they should. And they should.
I thought they signed him.
So I don't see anybody hitting wise so far that's decent. Maybe Luis Arraez. No.
It's like John Jay, just nothing but
Right.
singles.
Verdugo. Ty France. JT Realmuto at 35. Cedric Mullins is probably the first one on this. Rengifo, I guess, is pretty decent. The shortstop utility guy for the Angels. Good little ball player. But looks like Rengifo and then Mullins and O'Hearn would be some decent people here.
I have no desire to have Rengifo.
Right. There's no room for him. But like when I'm scrolling down a list here, I don't see anyone that's going to help this team right now offensively. And that's a problem.
Yeah. You're going to have to trade for somebody. You're going to have to trade for a legitimate bat. So then it's what teams are really bad that have some good bats. And that's just the thing. Like the really bad teams, they don't have good bats. I thought about this earlier this year. The guys that you will want are all on contenders.
Yeah.
You know? AJ Mukherjee, he says, nothing will happen. This new ownership group is led by another dummy. Cue up the next Sid Thrift and the start of another decade-long dark ages. There's just no way that can happen. How do you keep a fan base? They'll move, and they can't because they signed a 30-year lease. But like
that, you could break that.
You could at that point sell the freaking team to another state. I'm sorry, I can't do another decades-long dark ages. I can't do it. Orioles fan can?
I don't think it's that bad. I don't think we're that deep into things.
I don't
Not
think
with this roster.
Either. I don't think it is either. But you've got to do something to instill confidence into this roster because this roster is just going out. Yesterday and today didn't feel like they were going through the motions. It just felt like, oh shit, like our starting pitcher sucked again. What are we supposed to do here? You know, but if you go, even though the offense has been bad, what it's going to take is stringing together some really good starts.
Yeah.
Stringing together, like who goes tomorrow? Is it Kramer tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, if Dean Kramer gives you 7 innings of 2-run ball, and then Sagano goes on Tuesday and he gives you 7 innings of 1-run ball, and then Povich gives you 5 2/3 of 2-run ball, and you start stringing together some really good starts.
Right.
Then the offense is gonna be like, hey boys, look what our guys are doing. Let's wake it the F up. Let's go. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah.
I
agree.
I didn't see quit in these guys the last 2 days.
Right.
But the pitching gave up 10 runs each of the last 2 days. They've given up 20 runs in 2 games after their manager got fired. When you're in offense, and the Orioles have scored 10 runs the last 2 games. Your offense averages 5 runs a game, and they still lose both of those games. You're in a situation now where it's like at that point, that's not on the offense. It's on the fact that you aren't getting quality length. And yeah, Eflin pitched into the 6th, but he had already given up 8 runs by the time he got there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when they walked out to the mound, they were like, "Hey, dude, you got this today. Like,
yeah,
our bullpen's toast. Please figure it out."
Right. First round pick. We know this guy. He's the one who's been hating on Adley Rutschman since he got drafted. He said they're 15 under. It's going to take more than a good month. It is going to take more than a good month. It's going to take a couple good months. But let's play, you're 3-11 right now, which means that you've got 13 games left. No, they got 27 games this month. They've got 13 games left this month. Go 7-6. Go 7-6 the rest of this month. Then get into June.
Go 8-5. Let's get spicy.
Let's get spicy. Yeah, well, we tried to say 16-11, and they've already lost 11 games, 14.
Yeah, I
know. But just be over 500 the rest of the month, then play 500 or better in June, and then find yourself in a situation where you haven't gotten worse, and maybe you've gotten a little bit better going into July, and then let's talk about getting some of these guys back and getting Westberg and Cowser should be back by then. And I didn't know how much these guys meant. I mean, I knew Westberg, but even just for the morale in the locker room, because all these guys are like best friends, and to not have Cowser playing every day and Westberg playing every day, even though they're there, they're there. What can they really do to instill confidence in the team?
When Cowser comes back, are you getting rid of Kerstad? Lariano's not going anywhere.
Yeah. It depends. Is O'Neill back? because it's Dylan Carlson who's getting sent.
Regardless, you have to make room for O'Neill at some point.
Right. It might be. I mean,
I think Kjerstad's days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean he's
and it's not his bat. Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it's his bat that's going to get him sent down. It's the defense. You can't just have another DH here.
Yeah.
And right now, you've proved yourself to be a liability in the outfield.
See, and that's the thing. I didn't watch most of
back
this
down.
weekend. What did he do defensively that everybody's talking about? Because I missed it.
I was so mad today. So he gave up on a ball that ended up hitting the wall that I thought was catchable. And it was like, it's like he ran back and thought he had room. And then it was like, oh shit, the wall's there. And he just like looked up and it hit the wall. And I'm like, dude, that was a catchable ball. And then like early yesterday, I think it was yesterday, he had like a couple overthrows and stuff. And it's just ugly. It's not clean. Let's just put it that way. It's not terrible, but it's not clean. And it is costing the team extra bases, extra runs, which they can't afford right now. You're not going to get that out of Cowser. And if you got two guys that are going to hit semi the same, but the problem is the minute you send him back down, his trade value is gone at a 20. What is he turning 26? It's gone. And you're going to ship him off for somebody else, just like you did Kyle Stowers, because you just don't have the time to wait. And then what could happen again? I don't know. Now, Stowers, I think, was head and shoulders better defensively.
Oh, yeah.
But coming through that time, I think Heston was head and shoulders better offensively in the minors, at least. And they kept him over Stowers.
Well, Stowers was your 2021 minor league player of the year. And then in 2022 or 2023, he hit 21 home runs in like 76 games down there. You know, Kyle Stowers, I don't think anybody saw this coming from him. I thought he was better than a lot of people did because I just don't think that you're a second-round pick. You do what he did at the college level. You do what he did in the minor leagues, and I just don't think that guy is a terrible hitter. I don't know. He's not going to hit 300 this year. He's hitting 305 right now. But I can see him finishing the year 250 with 25, 30 home runs, and that's better than what Kjerstad's going to do. Unless Kjerstad just turns it on. And that's the thing. Kjerstad's one of those guys who I think if he gets traded and ends up in the right situation, you could see him hit 270 with 30 home runs a couple years from now and be like, damn it, why couldn't he do that here? Yeah. You have these highly touted stars, and the only one who's doing anything of note right now is Jackson Holliday, and his swing got fixed by his dad.
Right.
I don't know how you justify keeping the hitting coaches. I'm not surprised Brandon Hyde got fired because somebody had to, after what happened on Friday, especially somebody had to go. But the fact that the hitting coaches survived blows my mind.
Like we talked about, they were Mike Elias guys.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They all are. I mean, same with Drew French. That's a Mike Elias guy, so their leash is a lot longer.
That's true. Dylan Atkinson says, cut more axes. Dylan, we got to get you back on the show here soon, man. Maybe we'll do 3 guys or something, but love having Dylan on the show. He's a hell of a dude. Let's see. Anything else? Man, I'm tired. I played baseball today. I had 4 at-bats, got on all 4 times, but my back has been just tight as hell since the end of that game. And
we had Little League day today. So like it was get to the stadium at 10:30. You know, the parade starts at 11. We walk the field, and then like I get up into my seats, and it's like 11:45, and I'm like, what do I do with myself? Game starts at 1:30, right? So we go get food, and then my kid the 2 of them that I brought cotton candy, and then we had ice cream later, and they're just all over the damn place, and it was just like a long walk back to the car. I didn't get home till like I don't even know what time I got home, 5 something maybe. And it was just like, and then, we had to take dog for a walk because he's been inside the whole time. And then, my lower back's killing me too.
Man, we're getting old.
Walking the field, dude. It's funny. Like, the field doesn't look big until you're on it. And, like, you look up and you're like, holy crap. Like, the scoreboard's like that high. Mm-hmm. But, like, when you're walking around the stadium, it doesn't look that high. I mean, I guess it does. But when you're down on the field and you look up, you're just like, whoa. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. And then, like, obviously the left field walls is pretty high. All the kids, trying to jump up, acting like they're robbing a home run. It was pretty funny. But Mr. Splash, that little area there, they cut that down pretty good. I mean, I could stick my arm up, and it's up over the fence. I didn't realize they cut it down that far compared to last year. So I mean, it's a good little spot to hit a home run. It's kind of like the old fence height now. I mean, just walk up and you stick your arm over it.
Oh, it's the same distance, 363 to the gap
Yeah.
now that it used to be. That's the same distance. That's where you're seeing the biggest difference with that wall is that the balls are getting
Mhm.
over the fence there when last year and the year before they weren't.
Yeah.
Like balls are getting over the fence there this year. Although Jackson's home runs today would have been gone any of the last 3 years also.
Mhm.
Where he hit it, it would have been gone. Um I do want to see this. KS1 said, I just want them to have fun and be exciting again. They may not end up competing, but give me a reason to finish out my 24. If
I
this
think she's talking about
team
her season plan, right? 24.
to finish out my 20, I don't know. I
I
think
think
that
so.
she means
I think she has season tickets.
I think she might be saying, give me a reason to finish out my, is it 25 season maybe that she's talking about, but she thinks it's 24.
Maybe. I know she has season tickets, so maybe she might talk about her plan.
Gotcha. Well, for this one, for me, it's what can they do down the stretch? And I don't mean like you're gonna get some guys back healthy. This season has been a bust. It's been terrible. It's legitimately so. AJ over here, he says this season is more disappointing than 2018. 2018 was very disappointing because you thought that they brought in Cashner, they brought in Cobb, they brought Tillman back. They had the same offense coming back, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to have an opopportunity here to make a nice little run and maybe win a wild card or something to get back into the playoffs, and then who knows what's going to happen after that.
Yeah.
And they didn't even win 50 games. They say every team wins 50 and loses 50 is what you do in the other 62 that determines your season. They didn't even win 50 games that year. That season was probably the most disappointing of my entire life. This one's up there. This one's up there. But if
this is a historically bad offense. I think that's why it's off there.
But if they play, like, let's say that they have 70 games after the All-Star break. If in those 70 games they go 40-30 or like 42-28, do you feel way better about this year going into the offseason?
I mean, you would have to.
Yeah.
I mean, finishing strong anytime is a good thing heading into the next year. But if you continue to play like this and stay 15, 20 games under the entire year, I think you'll have a little bit of self-doubt creep into a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that they'll play strong the second half when they start getting some dudes back. They're going to factor into the team next year. I think they'll finish the second half of the season really strong. But man, they suck right now.
Yeah,
really, really, really difficult. Hey, find every score from every high school sporting event all year long at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Zach, anything you want to leave us with?
No. Like I said, I'm still holding my head for these guys. I've refused to throw the towel in just yet. I'm a little crazy about it, but I don't care. I want this team to figure it out and start doing well. So I think we all do.
Yeah.
I'm itching for it. For it.
They have too much talent when you've got guys like Gunnar and Jackson Holiday and Adley. I know Adley sucks right now, but he's so much better than how he's playing. You've got a bunch of guys on this team that are good ball players, and they're just not getting it done. They're just not getting it done. Get Westbrook back, get Cowser back, make a little run at respectability, because for me, the playoffs are out of the question. But make a run at respectability and then come out in 2026 strong.
Play a spoiler.
Yeah. God, I hate that that's how we're talking on May 18th. Come back out strong in 2026. Play spoiler the rest of this year. Like, get the F out of here.
Knock somebody out. Knock somebody out. If that's what it's going to come down to, be that guy, be that team, like we did to Boston that one year when Andino walked him off.
Oh man,
and he kept him out. How great would that be?
And that set the tone for 2025.
It did.
Not 2025 for 2012. It set the tone because that team. They also at the end of 2011 they played really strong baseball in September, right? And like that team was just. They literally used the momentum from game 162 in 2011 and used it to fuel a 93 win season, a 34 game turnaround from 2011 to 2012. It is possible. Who do the Orioles play down the stretch. So let's look at their schedule in the second half, right? So let's see. In August, they've got games against the Cubs. Who's ATH? Oh, the Athletics. The Athletics. But they've got games against the Cubs, the Phillies, the Mariners, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Giants, then the Padres, Dodgers, Blue Jays, Yankees.
Here's where they do it right here. September 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st at Camden Yards, a 4-game series against the Yankees. You let them lose the division right there to Boston. Knock them out.
Boston,
how sick would that be?
That would be sick. But, I mean, they've got the final 2 months of the season where they can really play some strong baseball and beat some good teams that are playoff bound. They've got a great opportunity. You've also got a great opportunity to get the latest edition of Press Box, which is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson looks at the long road back from Tommy John surgery for Orioles reliever Felix Bautista, Kyle Bradish, and Tyler Wells. Also inside, learn about new Maryland basketball coach Buzz Williams from the players that have played for him and much more. You can find the new issue all throughout the region, including at 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Guys, it's late. It's 10 o'clock. We're going to get on out of here. I know Zach wants to get some sleep. We both have early mornings. So thank you for tuning in. 387 eyes on us as we're signing off right now, which is incredible for 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. Until then, thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to all of our loyal listeners, viewers, and fans. See ya.
See you guys.